Moving right along as we do here on the Steve Malzberg Show. By the way, Bill Kristol, the founder and editor of the Weekly Standard, will join us later in this hour. First time that we'll have the pleasure of having Mr. Kristol on with us, so I'm looking forward to that. But let us talk about something. A story came to my attention yesterday, and I think it was through the website ClarionProject.corg. And joining us now from the Clarion Project is security expert Ryan Mauro. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
It's always good to talk to you, Ryan. Okay, so, you know, I think the last time we spoke, I threw out Mohamed Elibiary, his name, because he had been doing some terrible things, in my opinion, saying some horrific things. And this guy has a position where, I mean, I didn't realize he had his own security company, but Obama named him to a Homeland Security Advisory Committee. And the latest travesty, yesterday, he's tweeting out, while admitting that no country treats Muslims better than the United States, he also said that the United States is a Muslim country and that it's Sharia compliant. I mean, how does this guy, when you couple it with the other things he's done, such as saying to Aaron Klein, who writes for WND, that he looks Jewish when he's on Fox News, and blaming the Christians in Egypt for their own persecution, for antagonizing the Muslims, how does this guy go under the radar or stay under the radar and stay on that Homeland Security Advisory Committee?
Well, the reason is because it hasn't become an issue. He's not yet a liability for the Obama administration because the media doesn't seem to care. But there's so much here that it's hard to summarize, but I'll try to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Senior advisor to the Department of Homeland Security, he tweeted yesterday saying that America is an Islamic country. He didn't say that just that America treats Muslims well or that Muslims live in the United States. He said America is an Islamic country. And the reason that is so important is when you consider his background. It seems like whenever he wakes up in the morning, the first thing he does is he says, how can I defend the Muslim Brotherhood? Because if you look at his Twitter page, there is no topic that he devotes more attention to than the Muslim Brotherhood cause. And we know that since the age of 16, he has had ties with American members of the Muslim Brotherhood, including one who mentored him, who is now in jail for financing Hamas.
Well, again, so it's only a matter of. I mean, I've sent all these stories and last night's as well to a congressman. That actually one of the press secretaries for one of the congressmen, who I would hope would have reason to want to pursue this. It's just outrageous on its face. The remarks. I mean, saying that. The United States is an Islamic country, and again saying that that they're Sharia compliant and all that kind of stuff, and that's going to be the eventuality. You know, that you could almost chalk up to opinion. But like you said, his support for the Brotherhood, his condemning of Christians for causing their own supposedly causing their own persecution as cops in Egypt, and this from Aaron Klein at WND, tweeting Aaron Klein that he displays a Jewish demeanor when he's a guest on Fox News. I mean, this guy needs to be kicked the heck out of any part of our government immediately.
Sure, those of us that have studied the Muslim Brotherhood and the Islamist cause for a long time have wondered why has the Obama administration pursued a pro-Muslim Brotherhood policy? And I think this provides some of the answers to those questions. Because if you look at the other things I've tweeted out that we've reported on at ClarionProject.org, he says that Mohamed Morsi, the former president of Egypt, is Egypt's Nelson Mandela. He says that the Muslim Brotherhood is essentially the Muslim equivalent of Christian evangelicals. And you see his beliefs being put into action not just in foreign policy, but also in domestic policy, because he says that he has helped safeguard groups that were threatened with prosecution, and his beliefs are very apparent in the revised training guidelines that the Department of Homeland Security made for counterterrorism personnel. And if those guidelines are followed, we are going to have an entire generation of counterterrorism personnel that don't even know that the American branch of the Muslim Brotherhood exists.
Talk about those revised rules and training procedures.
If you read the quotes from the revised Department of Homeland Security training guidelines, you would think it's a hoax. You would think it's something from The Onion. But amazingly, what it explicitly says is that counterterrorism personnel should not be taught about the American Muslim Brotherhood, that they should not be taught or use trainers that say that mainstream Muslim American organizations have ties to overseas Islamic political groups, which they do. They say that you can't learn about lawfare, the use of the democratic system in order to advance the Islamist cause, that you can't equate the advocating of Sharia law with criminal activity. So you basically cannot learn about the Islamist cause at all. You can only learn about the specific Al-Qaeda member that is going to set off a bomb, and that's it.
Absolutely. And I did. Where did I read last night that that the government is now on the lookout and considers a threat, a big threat from, I think it's white, Christian, heterosexual males. I don't know what department that was in. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep, that was from the Department of Homeland Security, and basically they're warning about the threat from white supremacist males. Now, it's one thing to
But they didn't call it that. They called them white, heterosexual, Christian males who are advantaged as opposed to minorities, disadvantaged, gay, the everything polar opposite.
Right, but what they're insinuating is a threat from white supremacists, but the way they described it is really ridiculous, and it didn't include specific intelligence. It's one thing if you have specific intelligence about a white supremacist terrorist attack that's about to occur, or supremacist terrorist activity that's happening in general, and then you issue a memo. But when you issue these politically correct guidelines that just don't make sense, all it does is make counterterrorism personnel feel worried about the idea that they're going to be accused of being racist,
right,
or being anti-Muslim bigots when they do their job.
Right, and they'll back off. That's human nature. Hey, Ryan Mauro, national security expert, ClarionProject.org. Check that out, folks, early and often, because you'll find out all about this and more. Thanks, Ryan. We're going to stay on top of this Elibiary guy. We're not going to let this go, and Ryan will be a big part of that. On the Steve Malzberg Show, when we come back, Dr. David Samadi joins us on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.